Hello, so as you can see, I've got the War Emergency Guidebook out. That sort of Cold War document I've got, which was the one that was given to the Wiltshire, the particular one, County Council sort of Cold War team. If you've seen Fred's, it's basically where they had those people in the basement, where the idea of Britain is they divide it into localised governments, and then each government would be in charge of a different sort of bit. Evening, Finn, you all right? So hello to everybody that's just joining. Don't forget to like the stream. All right, Mike? I'm pretty sure this is a Mark III helmet. It might be a Mark IV, but I don't know the difference between them well enough. No, you're not blocked because I can see your message. All right, Stug? But yeah, British Mark III or Mark IV helmet. Mark III came into service sort of near the end of World War II, you know, to replace a normal Brodie helmet. Right, cool. I'll get the strap off. There you go. So it's just kind of like that dryish leather stuff with a bit of foam at the top. No, I'm not going to get that out for this stream because I've got the War Emergency Guidebook. All right, cool, Mark IV. Right, so it is the right one for doing a Fred sort of based thing. My favourite gas mask is the Avon CT12, but in this stream we're going to be talking more about this. So if there's any particular bits that interest people, I can try and hold them up and see if we can get the camera to focus on it. But a lot of the text in here is quite faded now. There's also some other booklets included in this, which I'll just get out. Just get those. There we go. So, the hydrogen bomb. Advising the householder on protection against nuclear fallout. And Home Office and Scottish Home and Health Department's Guide to Nuclear Weapons. Is this the one that has, yeah, the KTs in there? Power of bomb, 20 KT, 100 KT, half a megaton, megaton, 2 megaton, 5 megaton, 10 megaton, 20 megaton. Maximum height for contaminating burst in feet, 9,300 for 20 megaton. Well, that would be the kind of more accurate way of doing it, yeah. Oh, look, there's some Nuketown pictures. Right, if you're about the War Emergency Guidebook, the only reason I have it is because my uncle's a painter and decorator, and he ended up painting the house of somebody whose parents were on the war team for that thing, like the Emergency Council. And then basically when he was talking about the Cold War, he said, oh, my nephew's quite into the Cold War. And the guy was like, oh, you can have my parents' war emergency stuff then, because they were in the thing. Let's see if there's anything else with pictures in here that's quite interesting. This is quite interesting. Some of the things in here about how fallout works on different sort of ranges and stuff like that. I've already done a video on the War Emergency Guidebook, if that's what you're on about. But I thought I'd get out for the stream. So, you know, people, if they wanted to know certain bits, I can go to the certain pages on it. But yeah, let me just put these books back in, and then I can flick to whatever bit people are interested in. So let me just get those and put them back. No, that's not that side. That's that side. So yeah, that's the first bit of this. Today's not Father's Day in the UK. Today's Remembrance Day. I've got a little poppy armband thing on because the actual poppies are useless for where I was at work. Let's see if there's anything on death rates in here. I mean, there is probably in the other little books, but the threat human tolerance and dose rates, characteristics and effects. Also has a bit on chemical and biological warfare on here. Anybody's wondering, this is from 1974. Or it says effective 1974 on that bit. No, he's going to at some point, Bing. All right, I'll show you the content page because most of it fits onto a couple of pages. So yeah, that would be more useful, wouldn't it, Nick? So that's the first page of contents. I've got a scanner, Chris, but some of it won't scan very well, but I am going to eventually try and scan a lot of this in. Next bit is this lot. Hang on. I want to obviously not pull any pages and rip them. So. Anybody spotted a bit they want me to open to yet or look for? But the sections are emergency and instructions, background subjects, law and order, health resource, community responsibilities, and coming into action. The only bit I won't show in this is at the very back of the book. They've got all the names and addresses of the people that are on the War Council. And obviously for privacy reasons, that's not a very good thing to show. Law and order. Right, let's go to that bit. I'll show you the forward page. Although this is the bit where law and order is meant to start. Let's see where the actual law and order bit is in here. About giving people pickaxe handles to beat people up was in part of this bit. I think it's one of those weird ones where you actually go to the bit before. So let me just go to this bit. Yeah, there we go, law and order. So let's see if there's any particularly funny bits I can find. Primary offences of violence, such as looting, using violence to get accommodation or supplies, using violence to overcome frustration in queues, traffic jams, crimes of spontaneous violence, nothing premeditated or planned, no gangs. They're saying they wouldn't bother enforcing exceeding speed limits, building a garage without planning permission, cooking the income tax form, robbing the gas meter, driving without a license, or selling dud insurance policies. So the good thing is, in a totalitarian British state after nuclear war, they're not very concerned about taxes. So that's one good thing to know, that if you ever want to scam taxes, if threads happened, you don't have to worry about it, because they're not really worried about enforcing that. They're more worried about just shooting you over other stuff. They need you to form a posse of vigilantes. Oop, hang on. Yeah, it's a bit more clear than the official British laws, isn't it? This stuff they gave to the people that had to decide if people had to be shot or not. You know, whereas, like I say, in the actual things weren't like that. If you look on the gov.uk bits on laws. Let's see. To start with, they say your vigilantes should not be armed, but I think this is the bit where it says you can give them clubs. Yeah, it's a turtle helmet, turtle tortoise helmet, the one that came after the Brody. The idea is it just gives you more head protection. A stout stick or pick halve is simple and adequate. So basically, give your vigilantes pickaxe handles to beat the shit out of people with. This one's from June 1972, apparently. I might as well just read some of this out because it's going to be a bit difficult to keep showing it to the camera and getting it to focus. Syndicate Problem 2. You decide to raise a peacekeeping force to cover your area. Prepare the brief or instructions that you would give them. Alternatively, you decide to work for a street leader in each street in your area. Prepare the brief or instruction that you would give to each one. Time allowed 20 minutes. It's kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure, some of this. Like, how are you going to deal with the post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland of Britain? I actually don't know what my most valuable gas mask is off the top of my head. Either probably the C7s or the XM28 in terms of rarity. The following point should be covered. Explanation. You all know the situation is bad and that law and order is beginning to break down. This situation is widespread and extremely serious. Unless it is stopped, all emergency arrangements may be disrupted. Authority. I've been told to set up an emergency peacekeeping force of responsible residents under the authority of the town controller to protect life and property in the part of town. Until more police are available, similar action is being taken in other parts of the town. Task. I am asking you to act as a local special constables for a few hours each day. Your prime aim is to stop violence, damage, and looting. Action. You should take such action as you think fit for this purpose. Act firmly and with determination. Do not be afraid to use reasonable force if necessary. Deal with minor offences yourself, but bring serious offenders to me. Refugees. Most violence is due to the urgent need for shelter and supplies by travellers stranded in transit from likely target areas. All local residents must be prepared to take them in as a temporary measure. You must explain this and try to arrange it peacefully. Control. Mr. and this has been blanked out. I guess it's actually because Mr. is where they would then fill it in with a pen for this area and they've not bothered doing it. Will be head constable. He will arrange duties and shifts so that none of you are away from home for longer than necessary. Please spare as much time as you can. Refer any problems to Mr. Blank or to me. Equipment. Wear a white armband and carry a stout stick. So yeah, here's a bit of advice for you. If you're going to pretend after like a Fred's event to be somebody in one of the militias, you have to wear a white armband. Yeah. Have you seen that thing, Chris, where they interview a guy who's going to be a controller and he's fucking obviously getting off on the fact that he gets to execute people? Equipment. So yeah, we just did that bit. Wear a white armband and carry a stout stick. Police. If a regular police officer arrives, you must immediately place yourself at his disposal and follow his instructions. Principle. Remember, act firmly, act in good faith, and use only the minimum force necessary. If you do, your action will be upheld by authority and I will support you. So basically, that bit's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Because it's saying, as long as you think you're acting reasonably, we're behind you. Yeah, but what if the white armband bloke has a gun, Mike? Because I think they probably would. What's this bit? I've been instructed by the town controller to try to organise protection of life and property. People from the large towns are moving into the southwest. There have been a number of incidents of strangers stealing or forcing their way into people's houses. They are short of food and petrol and desperate for accommodation. This is likely to continue and we must take steps to protect ourselves and our property. This can only be done on a street basis, and I'm asking you to try and organise it as soon as possible. You should enlist the help of all able-bodied men in your street and explain the situation to them. They should immediately come to the aid of any householder who is threatened. You should arrange some simple signal for this purpose, a cry for help or a whistle. Residents can continue with their domestic preparations for as long as they listen for a distress signal. Explain to your men that they must act with compassion and use only reasonable force to restrain violence. If there are any serious violence or you're in doubt, get in touch with me. I don't know how easy it is to get in touch with this bloke after a nuclear war, though. You know, especially because this bloke's name wasn't included in here. All of us must be prepared to accept strangers into our houses as a temporary measure until the crisis is over. The crisis is over, nuclear war. This is funny. If we do not, we shall not be able to keep their violence under control. Please explain this to everybody in your street. Your task is to arrange this peacefully. Keep a special eye on shops, garages, and empty buildings. Use them to billet strangers as long as the goods there are not endangered. I repeat, provided you and your residents act reasonably and use only the minimum force necessary to keep order, your actions will be supported by authority. This video is just for the people asking me to show stuff. It's just about the War Emergency Guidebook. If you're familiar with Fred, you'll be familiar with what this is about. Also, don't forget to like the stream, everybody. I see a lot of people have liked it so far, so well done. But bits about peacetime, that's a bit boring. Like, how would we prepare for this? Where's the shit about stuff? Oh, this sounds more interesting. It is 3 a.m. A boy arrives at your house and says, could you go around to see his dad, one of your street leaders, as there has been a murder in the street? At the boy's house, you find a group of residents holding a young man. They tell you that the man has murdered one of the residents on the street, old Mr. Bloggs, a widower and a pensioner, and has occupied the house together with his wife and 2 young children. By question and answer, you find that Mr. Bloggs died whilst trying to resist the men forcing their way into the house where Mr. Bloggs refused to take the family in. The man in question is now in poor state and is obviously shaken as much as the general situation by the realization that he's killed somebody. What do you do about it? Should we have a vote on what you would do about it, according to the book? So Iron Man would tie him up and torture him. That might be a bit inefficient with time, Iron Man. I think you're meant to put him against the wall in the golf course, and not golf course, tennis court, and shoot him with SLR. So you've got votes for shooting. You must decide whether it is in the interest of the community that the man be punished or not punished, should lose or retain his liberty. You must ask yourself, is he a continuing danger to the community? If no deterrent action is taken, will it encourage others to behave in a similar way? It says in this, it was an accident, so you shouldn't kill him. You cannot in all humanity want him shot or hanged, and his family left bereft. We advise that you should warn him of the seriousness of his offence and say that judgment will be deferred until the situation settles. So this isn't really, at this time, it is not important at this time to see that the man is brought to justice. The important thing is whether he or his action is still a threat to the community and is likely to provoke further violence. Oh, here we go. Note that as a community advisor, you may have to decide whether to proceed further against an offender or let him go. If further action is required, i.e. punishment, then it becomes a matter for the controller, not the community advisor. So basically it's saying in here that no, only the controller gets choice over life and death, you cunt. Not you. Only the controller. Yeah, Richard thinks degenerates like him belong on a cross, apparently. This might be a more juicy one. Also, during the early hours, a young man forced an entry into a sweet shop in another of your streets, because apparently there's still sweet shops operating after a nuclear war. He raped and then murdered the owner, who lived there alone. Her cries brought in the next-door neighbour, but he, too, was brutally murdered before the young man was finally overpowered and securely bound. He is still violent and difficult to handle. What do you do about these 2 incidents? I didn't read the first one out, but the other one was saying, like, a load of looters got caught with a vehicle full of stolen goods. I think these should be shot. Both these cases called for continued restraint and perhaps punishment. These men have done deliberate and willful damage, and all are a continuing menace to the community. An important distinction should be made here. The offenders have already been restrained, similar to initial arrest, and may or may not have suffered some injury in the process. Injury caused during the act of restraint is not punishment and is acceptable, provided only the minimum force necessary to restrain was used. So if you beat the shit out of somebody according to this while you restrain them, that's all right. You're faced with a decision in the field of punishment or penalty similar to trial, and this raises the question of your powers of summary justice. We advise that you have no powers. Punishment is a matter of the controller, not the community. Again, the controller gets to decide what happens, not you, the controller. There'll be emergency courts as soon as practical. Let's just see if I'm going to have a quick scan through this and see if it says about shooting anybody. Oh, here we go. Alternatively, he may decide not to let them go free, and that some immediate action against the offenders is necessary. In rare cases where the local community is virtually isolated, faced with such urgent necessity, it may be right for a local leader to pass sentence. If in his opinion it is in the interests of the community, and no lesser measure is possible, he must decide, preferably in consultation with 2 or 3 other members of the community, whether the punishment at the time should be corporal and immediate. However, normally in the town we advise that summary court should be set up under the authority of the town controller, and if the need is urgent and their normal process of justice cannot operate, their powers will be dictated by the necessity and the circumstances at this time. People acting in a judiciary capacity may expect their decisions to be upheld, provided they act in good faith and impose penalties, which are the minimum required to deter or restrain. Let's see if that's most of Law and Order. At the end, it's saying it's not as hopefully it won't be as serious as that. But yeah, I think if somebody's raping and murdering old ladies in sweet shops, you should probably shoot them. That's my opinion. So the controller, Richard, is somebody who is set up as like the local government leader sort of thing for the personal area. And I guess a town controller is, if there's a burnt out ruin of a town, he's the leader. So personally, I think they should have the Fat Controller's theme, so you can go, "You will be shot," said the controller. "Oh dear," said Thomas. Yeah, give it a couple more weeks, Iron Man. Did you know about radiation? There is no known way of destroying radioactivity by heat, sterilization, chemicals, or any other means. Can't get rid of it. This is a very political book, not a list. It's the government's guideline during the Cold War of what to do. If you've ever seen Fred, you'll kind of know what this is about. Yeah, that's an interesting point, that in this, it's literally saying a lot of the time what you're doing is just deterring other people from doing stuff, not necessarily in the person's best interest who's actually being tried. There's a bit about how to use Geiger counters at the moment, which I'm just sort of skimming through. The decimeter number 2 reads from 0 to 5 Rontgen. The decimeter number 3 reads from 0 to 50 Rontgen. The decimeter number 4, which is likely to be the most commonly issued, reads from 0 to 150 Rontgen. Radiation, in layman's terms, Iron Man, is like an energy that damages things. The easiest way of thinking of radiation is literally a type of energy. You just can't see it or hear it or anything like that. Britain, Peach. If you said what county, it's Britain, but what county, it's Wiltshire. It's like a big folder, basically. It's an interesting thing, though, that British decimeters were nowhere near as good as the Warsaw Pact ones. Because where they're saying decimeter here, I assume they are meaning Geiger counters, rather than just, the decimeters that go up non-stop until they get full. But yeah, because the Polish DP66 went up to, I think it was 1,000 Rontgen per hour capacity. The DP75 goes up to 2,500 Rontgen per hour capacity. What Hype said's a very good explanation. It's light, except it breaks chemical bonds. That's a good way of thinking about it if you don't really know. I'd say a few people you definitely trust more Moreno. There's a bit about hygiene. Some of the info in here might be very good for preppers, actually, in terms of like what local government would have done. As like measures to, for example, radioactivity. The notes so far have related only to natural hazards. In circumstances where radioactive dust is suspected, it must be remembered that normal boiling or sterilization does not remove radioactivity. Surface water, ponds, open reservoirs, rainwater, dew ponds must all be avoided. Deep wells or covered storage reservoirs may be safe and supplies adequately filtered may be fairly safe. Distillation will provide a safe but unpalatable supply, which may be made more palatable by adding a pinch of salt, or by arontin, pouring from height from one vessel into another several times. This, however, is a very slow method and is extravagant of energy supplies. The chlorinated water in a school or other swimming pool should not be overlooked as a possible source of supply. I hope you're ready to drink some chlorinated swimming pool water. Just to show you that bit. It's that line there. It's, yeah, that bit. I don't know. I mean, it would be SLRs for the soldiers, but the only thing they really go on about in here is handing out pickaxe handles and that to your vigilantes, who are like, lower ranks than the soldiers and police you'd basically use, and traffic wardens. I wonder if bathwater can be used. Do you think Baldephine's bathwater would go up in value after a nuclear war? Yeah, I definitely need to get a water filter at some point. The only thing I've got is a Brita filter, which is better than nothing. But obviously, that's just more for filtering tap water to get lime scale out of it. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing, isn't it? How useful a water filter would be that could actually filter radioactive, like dust or whatever, out of the water. Liquid waste, urine. Whilst a solid waste latrine can be expected to receive some liquid waste, it is better than separate provisions be made for liquids. In land other than clay, which will allow perlocation of the material, a soak waste should be concentrated at least 3 feet deep and 3 feet square, filled with hard rubble and covered, liquid being introduced via various improvised pipes or tubes. Solid and greasy water can also be disposed of in this way, but should first be filtered through leaves, twigs, straw, etc., which can be periodically removed and burned. You'll have to remind me after the stream, Iron Man, but I'll tell you what, I'll Google that now. Right, I've got them coming up on like Google results, and I'll go back to the thing. See if we can find some more stuff on radioactivity. Here's a big bit. Ooh. As mentioned earlier, these notes relate only to normal hazards. Special concern must attach to food supplies after thermonuclear? Were they meant to say thermonuclear and spelt it wrong? Thermonuclear activity. I suppose that was meant to be nuclear. In the absence of any direction from the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, these rough and ready rules may be used as a guide. The flesh of irradiated animals would be fit to eat provided they were slaughtered before they died. If they were eating food in pastures contaminated by fallout, any milk they produce within a month or so after the attack might be dangerous for humans, particularly infants. Strontium-90, but the flesh would be safe to eat provided the carcass were properly bled and the offal and bone discarded. Animals are not fit for human consumption if they had died of radiation sickness or from any other condition. Eggs may be considered safe even from exposed but surviving birds. Milk from cattle which have grazed on contaminated pastures is not safe, but is better made into butter or cheese and kept before consumption. Freshly caught fish immediately after attach may be considered safe. I guess attach was meant to be a tank. Not like the government people can spell in this. Root crops which are fully grown will be safe provided they are well washed after lifting. Green vegetables should be avoided. Peas and beans would be safe, but only the pods would be contaminated. Likewise, orange, bananas, etc., if available, would be safe after peeling. Growing crops may be contaminated by material taken up through their roots and should be avoided as food. All tins of food should be well washed before opening. It depends what you want to do on it, Peach, but ideally you want one with like some of the new AMD processors on because of how, better they were than old things, but you're probably not going to get one with a new AMD processor and a decent GPU for £100. Food poisoning. Yeah, about food hygiene, that's quite boring. Let's have a look at community responsibility. Maybe there's something funny in that. Oh, here we go. This looks funny. Annoyingly, they've stapled this bit together, which makes it really hard to read. But nuclear attack. A nuclear bomb, when it explodes, has 4 effects. It produces 1, intense light, which can blind you temporarily or permanently. 2, intense heat, which can burn you and set fire to your house. 3, a blast wave, which can injure you and damage your house. It could also fucking kill you, of course. 4, radioactivity, called fallout, which is a form of radiation harmful to people and animals, which is sufficiently intense can cause death. Yeah, no shit. Cautions to be taken. Light. Do not look at the intense flash. If a nuke's going off, don't look at it, apparently. Heat. Personal protection. 1, if you're open, get behind any available shelter or lie flat or in a ditch. If indoors, keep away from windows. Protection of the home. Remove all easily combustible materials from attics, living rooms, outhouses. Move soft furnishings from direct line of windows. Store as much water as possible for firefighting, putting fill buckets in rooms. Have stirrup garden pump available. Whitewash or board up your windows if possible. Turn off gas or any fuel, oil supplies. Blast. The only real protection is a basement or cellar or a slit trench. See below, otherwise under the stairs. I like how in Protect and Survive, it claims that there are more ways of protecting yourself from that, but the official guide says no. Are you in a bunker? No, you're fucked. Radioactivity. The intensity reduces with time. In passing through dense materials, e.g. concrete, brick, hard-packed earth, with the distance you are from it. So 1, plan to stay indoors for at least 48 hours and do not leave until you're told to do so by someone in authority or by a radioactive broadcast. Pile earth in any suitable containers to cover your ground floor windows or brick them in, or push furniture filled with earth or books against windows on the inside. 3, stay in a part of the house furthest from outside walls and the roof. The ideal is a cellar or basement, or dig a slit trench under the ground floor of your house. Bungalows, prefabs, and caravans offer little protection. Seek shelter in a neighbour's house if possible. The book's called the War Emergency Guidebook, but it's really more of a folder. And you're going to find it very hard to get one because this is officially government property from the Cold War. Oh, the controller designate actually bothered to sign this one. March 17th at 7 p.m. It looks like cool, but I doubt it's cool. I think that's Martin. Unless you just put like lol. But it's Andrew William or something who signed the first bit, so this is a different person. Coming into action. This one was signed 82, 4th of October 1982. Oh, yeah, this is a bit I can't show you because it has all the names and addresses in this back bit. Is it literally all names? Yeah. Fucking hell. Just to give you an idea, this many pages is names and addresses of people on the war books, as in, you know, people on the war councils. Well, the only thing it really said about the Gulag, Peach, is that the controller will deal with it. You know, you don't. The controller deals with it. And they wouldn't have had prisons. It would have been against the wall and shot. B-Store selling them about 400 odd quid, Iron Man. You can tell how much bureaucracy was in here. Just this many names and addresses. Let me just see how many are on the page. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 12 to 13 names on a page. So there's a lot of people in there. Right, all the sections of the book, I'll go through it again. Hang on. There's emergency instructions, background subjects, law and order, health, resources, community responsibilities, and coming into action. And coming into action is the bit I can't show you because it's all the names and addresses of people involved. Oh, that's interesting, Rimfer. So yeah, there's the signature of a dead man. A dead man who would have had the power of life or death if you were in Wiltshire and the nukes went off. Shall we read this forward? War is not yet an impossibility. Weapons of mass destruction exist and the technology of war is developing fast. I hope the day will come when man can be free of the threat of war, but that day is not yet. If it comes, it may come with a little warning, and it is folly to be unprepared. There is a great deal that can be done to limit casualties and to enable people to survive. It requires specialized knowledge and a deep understanding of the problems that may arise. This cannot be learnt during a short period of tension. It must be learnt now. If any future war, the survival unit is likely to be the small natural community. The village, the housing estate, the street parish council may have to assume far heavier responsibilities. An essential part of the preparations being made by the local and other authorities in Wiltshire is the placing of this specialized knowledge and understanding at community level. The more people resident in each community who understand and know how to act quickly, the more lives will be saved and the greater will be the chance of survival. This is the task of the community advisor. The work involved will not be easy. It will be largely unrecognized and unrewarded. But in war, this knowledge could determine whether or not a community survives. I wish to place on record the gratitude and thanks of the local authorities in Wiltshire to all those who voluntarily give their time and energy to this service. There you go. Andrew Williams, or Andrew William, whatever, Chairman, Wiltshire County Council. And that was from Group Captain F.A. Willan, CBE DFCDL, Chairman of the County Council. Yeah, I'm assuming Iron Man somebody could, hotbox that suit. Yeah, I don't know in Glasgow if they'd have had different local ones, because I know in London they originally planned to have 4 districts, but then when the hydrogen bombs developed, they said, oh, fuck it, we're all going to die. There will be peace in our time, Iron Man. Shall we read some more bits about the nukes? Because nukes are interesting. Hang on. Some notes there about what they've done. So that's them planning what will probably happen. Well, the accent goes Jesus. Or the pot soup. Oh, I like how they've put something on this page. Hang on, it's quite small, but What have they scribbled on there? Look, something that ends in chaos, apparently. Oh, there's another one with a line going to strike here. There's your local government reorganisation for Wiltshire. Yeah, we're looking at the realistic book of threads, like the things they were actually issued with. Oh, there's the power structure for nuclear war. Region, sub-region, county, district, and community. Let me have a look, breathing seagull, and see. Oh, this bit looks interesting. Ground burst weapons on people exposed in the open. 3rd degree burns, charring of exposed skin. You know, when Protect and Survive, it gave a cheery picture. This is 70s and 80s Iron Man. It's from like the period Threads was made. So 3rd degree burns, charring of exposed skin. If a 20 kiloton bomb went off, 7/8 of where it says miles, is that? I mean, it's quite hard to read this, how they've done the weird structure, but basically what it's saying is you're pretty fucked. With 50% of body surface burned, young people would have 50-50 chance of survival. Yeah, so there you go. If you want a chart at calculating how many old people are going to get fried in a nuclear blast. Yeah, I mean, that's what this book is saying, Defiant Shackleton, in a lot of words. But yeah, it's funny how Protect and Survive paints a bit of a cheerier picture. And then, yeah, the actual governmental kind of control books are like, oh, we're fucked, we're fucked, we're fucked. Oh, average range in miles of blast damage to typical British house. House totally destroyed, streets impassable. If it was 10 megatons, again, they've used these weird things for doing it. Because it's rather than percent, they've used like fractions, haven't they? But basically it's saying lots of houses would be fucked in this bit. Because they'd be in a bunker, Chris. That's how they'd survive. They'd be in their nice little regional bunker, and they're like, oh, everybody else is fucked. We're okay. We're sitting in our bunker looking at our book. Radioactive decay. Radioactivity cannot be destroyed, nor can its decay be hastened. Average decay rate of all the various Fallout products is such that if the time is doubled, the activity is somewhat more than halved. If dose rate at H plus 1 hours equals 100 Rontgen per hour, then dose rate at H plus 2 hours equals less than 50 Rontgen an hour. At dose rate at H plus 48 hours, less than 1 Rontgen per hour. Okay, here's an interesting. Radiation sickness. This condition is set up to where a person has been exposed to a considerable dose of gamma radiation, whether at one moment or over a period. Up to 150 Rontgens, no acute effects. 150 to 250 Rontgens, nausea and vomiting within 24 hours, some incapacitation after 2 days. 250 to 350 Rontgen, nausea and vomiting in under 4 hours, some deaths in 2 to 4 weeks. 350 to 600 Rontgens, nausea and vomiting under 2 hours, heavy mortality in 2 to 4 weeks. Over 600 Rontgen, almost immediate incapacitation, mortality in 1 week. Uh, 350 to 500 Rontgen, usually a 50% chance of survival. All exposure to radiation is harmful. War emergency dose WED 75 Rontgen, up to 100 at unit commander's discretion. So basically the commander says, well, you can have 100 Rontgens if I say you can. Only 3 minutes warning of attack would be possible. A longer warning could only be impossible in the case for... It's not even a 4-minute warning here, it's a 3-minute warning. I hope you're ready to get into cover within 3 minutes. Immediate gamma radiation is not likely to affect anyone outside the area of total destruction. That's good then, isn't it? You're going to be dead, so it doesn't matter, as the range of immediate gamma rays is so small. Oh, here's a thing to do depending on what Rontgens you're observing. So less than 0.3 Rontgen per hour, remain in refuge until released, which can be as soon as dose rate falls to 0.3 Rontgen per hour, or fallout is complete in the rate has not reached the figure. 0.3 to 3 Rontgen per hour, remain in refuge until hours plus 48, then qualified release. Indoor workers to follow normal occupations. So they're saying if the nuke's gone off, you just carry on with your job like nothing's happened. But not to exceed 4 hours per day in the open for the next 5 days. Outdoor workers would have to do half shifts to keep within this. You can't make it up. I'm not bullshitting you. It literally says this. So if the nukes go off, as long as you're not being exposed to that many Rontgens, just take a half shift. 3 to 10 Rontgen per hour, so this is 3.6 Rontgen is. Remain in refuge until at least hour plus 48 hours, then release under stringent control. For the next 12 days, time in the open should not exceed 2 hours per day. On this basis, essential indoor workers should be able to get on with their work. Again, carry on working, but outdoor work should remain suspended. After the first fortnight, it would be possible to increase the essential time spent outdoors to 4 hours per day for the next 3 weeks, increasing this to 8 hours per day thereafter for the rest of the first year. 10 Rontgen per hour or more, remain in refuge until told to leave. All movement outside refuge in this zone would be dangerous. People should remain until instructions for clearance are given. They should then leave by the nominated route in which they have means of transport or wait in their refuge to be collected. If they have not, the clearance operation might start after hour plus 48 hours, and removal from the zone would be at least 3 months. Now, this is interesting, how good materials are at resisting gamma radiation. Thing is, can we afford that stuff? So lead is very good because its density pounds per cubic feet is 710. Steel is then good. Corrugated asbestos cement is good, apparently, better than regular concrete. Asphalt, concrete, stone, brick, sand, earth, plaster, water, wood. Hay bales actually stop a little bit of gamma coming through, apparently. Chemical warfare. There's a bit on chemical warfare in here. So let's read this bit. So, designed to kill or incapacitate, gas used for the first time on large scale during First World War by Italians in Abyssinia. That's. Oh, I guess it's saying First World War, yeah, by Italians in Abyssinia, mustard, by both sides in Vietnam. Used as a vapor, liquid or airborne droplets. Many types, usually classified by effects: choking, tear, nose, vomiting, blister, nerve, psychic, and I guess it's saying it paralyzes you. Mustard nerve gases most likely in future against civilian population, long-term 1980s. Oh, so it's likely mustard nerve agent will be used against civilians, according to this. Nerve gases, practically odorless, produce no skin irritation, blisters or itching, so no warnings. Act very quickly, readily absorbed through clothing, skin and eyes, little required to reach lethal concentrations, skin absorption, even through clothing, in 1 or 2 minutes, causing death at latest in an hour or two. Respiratory inhalation or liquid in eyes can kill in 1 to 10 minutes. Mustard gas, faint smell like garlic, causes reddening inflammation of skin and blisters, temporary blindness and loss of voice. Psychic, acts on brain causing temporary mental disorders or hallucination, LSD, small quantities very effective. Defoliants, to kill vegetation and crops. Protective measures, the respirator, remain indoors under cover, keeping exposed parts of body covered if working in the open. Avoidance of contaminated areas, rapid detection. Biological warfare, employment of living organisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses, infected insects to cause death, disability or damage to people, animals or crops. Invisible to naked eye, multiply rapidly under congenial conditions, can lie undetected during incubation period. These organisms can result in, e.g., anthrax, Q fever, brain fever, pneumonia, plague, rabbit fever, etc., most of which call for immediate medical treatment. Defense difficult due to a wide range of microorganisms which can be used, methods of delivery, identification needs laboratory, use of multiplicity of organisms to cause confusion, length of time to prepare serum or vaccine. BW may be indistinguishable from epidemic. Protection, respirator, closed room, all cracks and gaps sealed. High standard of public and personal hygiene. Food kept covered and sealed. Wartime roles of the police service. Oh, this might be interesting. So the police would be required for maintenance of law and order, special measures to maintain internal security, assistance in dispersing certain of the civil population such a scheme were to be put into operation, assistance in control of the homeless, assistance, not insistence, assistance in operation made necessary by fallout in the event of nuclear war, assistance in operating the wartime systems when warnings are initiated by the United Kingdom Monitoring Organization. Wartime organization to be able to carry out their wartime role if necessary for arrangements to be made so that plans and operations of police forces are coordinated. In each civil defence region, a chief constable or HM inspector of constabulary has been designated as police commander. In peacetime, he will coordinate the emergency plans of the police force in his region, whilst in wartime, he would assume operational command of those forces and of police officers who may be in the region. Does it say about shooting people? No, and then we're back to the bit we started off on with violence and all that. So yeah, I hope you found this book interesting. Oh, this is what it says should be in your first aid kit. Let's just get that there. Aspirin or codeine tablets. I guess this was back when you could just buy codeine on its own over the counter, which sadly is not a thing anymore. You have to buy its cocodamol. Let's have a look. Adhesive plaster, bandage 2-inch, clean clothes or clean cloths, dressing, safety pins and scissors, skin cream, cotton wool, salt household, 1/2 pound soda bicarbonate baking powder, 4 ounces packet, bowls various sizes, 3 hot water bottles and covers, teaspoons Vaseline, talcum powder, paper handkerchiefs, methylated or surgical spirits, clean cotton rags in plastic bags, disinfectant, packet of strong sewing needles, reel of white cotton. I'm surprised there where it's saying in the first aid kit, it's not saying In case of nuclear war, take all your codeine and enjoy your last few hours of being alive. Yeah, it's interesting stuff, isn't it, Mike? So this is similar to Protect and Survive, this one. Basically showing you a load of stuff like that. It's not exactly the same as Protect and Survive, I don't think. But it's basically, I guess, Protect and Survive was this book rehashed. They've crossed out the siren, I guess, because they didn't have one. Very heavy fallout. Where fallout is very heavy at first, people might have to be moved to safer places as soon as they could come out of cover. You will not be able to know yourself whether you're in such an area, so listen for instruction given by wardens or police or over the radio. If you had a Geiger counter, you'd know if it was heavy fallout or not. You'd be like, oh, how high is the needle going? Right, see you, Estevan. Yeah, maybe the Vaseline so you can offer Uranus up to raiders in exchange for your life. I don't know. Yeah, well, this is exactly it, Rimfer, because this is a government book. It's not a... Yeah, this is the one they give to the public. This is the one they give to the government. This one is, it's fucking fuck, mate, big time. Let's read the one about the hydrogen bomb. Oh, there's a bit about heat flash there, where it puts like the shadows on the wall. All right, cool, Mike. I'll probably start playing Along Dark tonight then. This is quite interesting. Gamma rays. The most dangerous of the rays are gamma rays. Injurious to all forms of life, the damage they do depends on the total dose absorbed by the body. This in turn depends on the intensity of the radiation, the time of exposure to it. The emission of gamma rays might be compared to the radiation of ordinary heat. As a red-hot poker loses heat within minutes, so radioactive particles lose their greater part of their radioactivity within a few days. Just as a person can touch a hot surface for a very short time without injury, so can he withstand a high degree of radiation for a few moments. That isn't necessarily true, though, is it? Because it depends how high the dose of radiation is. Like, you can't go up to the elephant's foot and go, oh, I'm just touching it, I'm going to walk away now. Alpha and beta rays. The two other forms of radiation, alpha rays and beta rays, are a lesser risk. Alpha rays travel only a few inches and are absorbed. They are dangerous if material emitting them is eaten or otherwise absorbed by the body. Beta rays travel a few yards. Clothing gives protection against them, but not against gamma rays. There's a scale model of your fucking fuck, mate, big time. Looks like it's fucked, sir. I've been growing a moustache for like the last month if you've been watching videos. Well, at least it'd be quick, Chris, you know. You're not going to suffer horrible, you know, radiological, you know, like decaying away, are you? You're just going to go, you know, that's how I'd want to go in a nuclear war, to be honest. there's a good picture showing you what your town might look like. Some quite nice pictures in this. I just wouldn't scan the bit at the end with the phone numbers and all the addresses. Good thing they're taking that person to the burnt out hospital on the stretcher. Oh look, it's 3.6 Rontgen. The numbers available in the fighting services would nevertheless be as small compared with the size of the task and their availability to help in no way lessen the need for civilian forces. The local volunteer would be first in the stricken area, and his local knowledge would be needed by any reinforcements coming from the battlefield. See, the need for civil defence volunteers. Oh wait, we don't have that anymore, civil defence. Yeah, interesting stuff in here. They'd probably just be putting table salt in a bucket with dirty rags like they do in Fred's. Oh shit, I ripped a page. Oh no. That wasn't very bad. Out of all these ones, the nuclear weapon book's probably the most interesting. Where it's got, you know, like the Operation Teapot pictures and all that. What's it say in this one about, you know, let me just get this one out again, because this bit looks quite interesting. I'll end the stream in a minute, because it's been over an hour. Some point during the Cold War, I don't know exactly when. Oh, again, it's those sort of numbers that were in the other book. I won't on this stream tonight, Hype, because I'm going off in a minute. But I can get the DP5D out for another stream. Or 5B, whichever one it was. But yeah, I can do it for another stream. I just can't really do it on this one now because I'm going off in a minute. But I need to get a video done on that anyway, like a proper video, because I've not done one yet on it. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed the War Emergency Guidebook from Wiltshire, which has propaganda leaflets in the front, which make a great comparison, especially that one. You'll be fine. And then the real book saying it's fucking fuck, mate, big time. So there you go. That's the War Emergency Guidebook. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Yeah, exactly, Rimford. They'll have a bit more medical knowledge, but without supplies and hospitals or whatever, there's not much they can do, is there? Yeah, see everybody then. I should be around Weapon Collectors on Tuesday, so we'll do some videos there. We'll probably do a live stream as well. But for the most part, tomorrow's Monday, isn't it? I won't be able to do a stream in the evening because I've got panto rehearsal. But I'll do a stream at some point tomorrow. Right, see everybody. Yeah, and don't forget, there's merch below at the Teespring link, and you can support me on Patreon or Super Chat or whatever. But yeah, thanks everybody. See ya. And this will probably be one worth watching back for people if they wanted to catch any of the bits in more detail. So see you later.